Good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening. I'm trying to get this shared. Um, I'm trying to get this shared and talk to y'all for just a few minutes, man. Just a few minutes, just a few minutes. Do me a favor, man, if you tap in with me tonight, hit the like, hit the share. I appreciate it. Definitely would appreciate it. So I'm not gonna be on here. I'm not gonna be on here super long time, so may not have a chance to wait on everybody. We'll do the best we can. Okay. So I wanted to tap in just for a little bit. I know I didn't give any type of warning on any of this, but I wanted to tap in for a little bit as we are ending the year 2023, going into 24, and I just want to share some of the things that God is putting on my heart as we are ending this year and going into a new year. Um, and I really want to share as it pertains to what we're doing and the direction in which we're going at Abundant Faith. Um, as many of you know, this year, the year 2023, um, was and is the year of the shift for Abundant Faith, and any of those any individuals that are connected to Abundant Faith. We pray that will fall to you as well. And so I just wanted to I wanted to have some discussion about what this looks like as we go into a new year. Um, so obviously, with 23 being the year of the shift, that was our focus for this year. However, I don't want us to lose that going into 24. Um, what the things that we learned in shifting and being available to shift and being um, flexible and just really understanding that sometimes God is not calling you to do a new thing. Sometimes God is calling you to do the same thing in a new way. And I think that will continue. I think that is a life principle. I do believe that even though that was our focus for the year, I don't think that changes. I think that just for us here at Abundant Faith, and for those of you who are connected to us, I think that it just ended up being an opportunity um, to really focus on that. Okay, and it doesn't mean that again that doesn't mean that it stops just because the year ends. It just means that you take those principles and you take those lessons and you take those blessings and you use those things in 2024 as well. Now, for those of you who may not know, going into 24, our focus, the year 2024, our theme is the year of the intentional. And so I believe that in the year 2024 for Abundant Faith and for those connected to Abundant Faith, I believe that God is going to exponentially bless what we're intentional about. And um, so I truly believe that God is so good and God is so powerful that there are often times where God will kind of just allow a blessing to sort of fall in our laps. There's times where God drops a blessing on us that we didn't pray for, we didn't ask for, we just kind of walk into it, and we're blessed by it. And I believe that, you know, at his discretion, God will continue to do some of that in 2024. But I also believe that for those who will be obedient and for those who will receive it, I believe that God is going to exponentially bless what you're intentional about. So I believe that if you're intentional about your relationships and doing relationships God's way, whether that be romantic relationships, platonic relationships, professional relationships. I believe that if you're intentional about doing it God's way, I believe that God will bless your relationships exponentially in 2024. I believe wherever we put our intention is where God is going to bless. And I say that um, it's risky to make statements like that because I'm also a believer that sometimes, people's intentions can lead them down the wrong path. They intend to do good, or they intend to, to get a certain outcome, and it play out completely different than what they intended. So when I'm talking about the year of the intentional, I'm standing on the fact that I'm standing on the belief that this year God is going to grant the grace that allows for us to be intentional about certain things, and God bless the intentionality behind it. Now, I'm gonna be honest, you know, um, everybody's not gonna be able to rock with that. I'm believing that the people that I'm assigned to will be able to accept and receive that. I believe the people that are assigned to my leadership, I believe that they will tap in, they will receive, they'll be obedient to it. Now, those of you who really know me, you also know that I when we set a theme, we are also going to we're not just going to say it just for the sake of saying it. We're going to go into the scriptures. We're gonna build our lives around that. Over the last like month or so, you've been hearing me say, maybe not a month, maybe not quite a month, maybe not quite a month. Over the last few weeks, you've been hearing me say that if you want to know how a person thinks, watch the way they live. And I've been saying these things. I've been saying that everything you do starts with a thought, and then thoughts lead to actions. Consistent actions lead to consistent behaviors. Consistent behaviors lead to habits. Habits lead develop lifestyles. And so I believe that in this season of intentionality, I really believe that if we are intentional about our thoughts, if we are intentional about our behaviors, if we're intentional about our thoughts, intentional about our actions, intentional about our behaviors, intentional about our lifestyles, I believe that God is going to exponentially bless those things. I believe that if we prioritize relationship and we're intentional about the types of relationships that we have with people, when we're intentional about cultivating relationships, when we're intentional about adding people to our lives that add value to our lives, when we're intentional about us adding value to other people's lives, I believe that God is going to exponentially bless relationships. Um, I think that when God gives me a theme or a focus for the year, since the inception of Abundant Faith, I think that no, not I think since the inception of Abundant Faith, when God has given me a theme for the year, it has always begun to play out. And so, if you've been following this ministry, you've been hearing me over the last probably 2 months or so. I've even been using the term intentional as God's been giving me, sermons and Bible studies and things like that. Like the intentionality doesn't wait until midnight on you know December 31st and 11:59 December 31st, going into 12 a.m. 12 a.m. January 1st. It doesn't just wait till then. Anytime God has given me a theme for the year, he starts to confirm before that year even comes. He starts to confirm to show me and for me to be able to show others that we're on the right track. And so I think that many of us have been fluid in our lives, and I think that to a degree, we need that. I think that to a degree, faith requires a degree of fluidity. Being able to accept, how God is going to do a thing. I'm believing that He will do a thing, but I don't know how He's going to do it. I don't know when He's going to do it. So I'm going to be fluid. I'm going to be open to, the possibilities. I'm going to be open to, however God wants to do it. But I believe that in 2024, that we as believers, specifically those who are connected to abundant faith, we need to be more intentional about what we're doing. And I believe that if we are, God will exponentially bless. I believe that if we're intentional about our marriages, God is going to exponentially. And let me say this. I know I'm kind of all over the place, y'all, but let me say this. When I say exponentially, we got to understand mathematically what exponentially means, right? So if we look at mathematics, I'm not saying that he will add to these areas in our lives. Okay, add would be 10 plus 10. Okay, add would be 10 plus 10. Okay, um, um, but that's not what we're talking about. I'm not even saying God is going to multiply, because that would be 10 times 10. When I say exponentially, I'm saying 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, 10 to the 10th power, right? So that's the difference. We're not talking addition. We're not talking multiplication. We're talking exponent. We're talking exponentially. And so I want for us as believers, and for those of us who are connected to abundant faith, to think exponentially. Okay. And I believe that if we're intentional, that God will bless, where we're intentional, exponentially. Many of us, you know, obviously this is no secret. Obviously, money, has value to all of us. Now, I'm not saying that all of us at Abundant Faith are going to end up millionaires. It would be nice, I guess, but what I am saying is that if we're intentional about handling our money God's way, I believe that God will bless our finances. I believe that if we are intentional about even the way we come to church, yeah, even the way we come to church, like even the way we come to church, because I don't know that we're always intentional when we come to church. I don't know that we're intentional. I don't know that we come with the intention all the time, right? Like I don't know that we come with the intention all the time of receiving a word that convicts us for the purpose of making us better. I don't know that we come with the intention, like, and many of us, we've been committed to coming to church for so long that we're not even intentional about what we're doing. This is just what I do on a Sunday. But when you, but if you come with intentionality, I believe that God is going to exponentially bless your time there. And so I'm of the belief system that many of us are not reaping the full benefit of being in the house of God regularly, because we're not intentional when we come, right? Like we come with the attitude that if the choir or if the praise team, if they ain't hitting on nothing, I ain't really trying to hear that, right? If the pastor or the preacher, how about this? If my pastor ain't the one preaching, I ain't coming. If my pastor ain't the one, if my pastor ain't the one preaching, I ain't coming. Let me tell y'all something. If you have submitted to the leadership of a pastor, then you have also submitted to his discretion, that if he's not there, or if he is there and not preaching, that who he has there, you need to be able to trust his discretion on who he has there. But that comes with intentionality that says, I'm going to be committed, even even if it's not, even if my pastor ain't the one preaching this Sunday, right? Being very intentional of you know, I just yeah. So I just believe that God is going to bless exponentially in 24 where we're intentional. So I know that there are a few people watching. I didn't give any type of heads up that I was going to be going live. So I'm gonna ask right now that you hit the share right now, and help me to share this. Hit the like, hit the share, tag some people in the comment section. I do have a question that I want to pose, and uh, if you want to answer that question in the comment section, I would be super excited for to hear what you have to say or to read what you have to say. But I want to know a couple of things. Number one, I want to know what was your biggest shift in 2023. I want to know what was your biggest shift in 2023. Let me see if I can put this up. I might need a bit. I'm gonna have to be the presenter and the producer tonight, but that's all right. We with it. What was Yeah. I want to know what was your biggest shift in 2023. Hopefully, at the end of every year, and I'm not talking about for the sake of resolutions and all of that kind of thing. I'm really talking about for the sake of appreciation and growth, and things like that. I hope that you take time at the end of every year to reflect on what took place the previous year. Uh, um, so maybe you haven't taken time to think about this particular question. So I challenge you to do so now. I want to know what was your biggest shift in 2023. Um, I need to get. Let me see. I need to get some folk in here too. Um, let's see. Let's see what we can do. Um, I'm just about to start tagging random people in the comment section. I'm just going down the alphabet because I want to hear what what folks have to say. Cause y'all I don't even know, like, y'all may not realize it, man, but like having these conversations, it blesses me as well. So sometimes I ask these things and look forward to hearing or seeing or reading what y'all have to say for my own benefit. Y'all be blessing me too. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm just going through tagging random people. All right. Brother Cornell said define shift. Okay, so Brother Cornell wasn't with us. He joined us later in the year. Um, so 23 for Abundant Faith was the year of the shift, and so what we established at the beginning of the year was that this was going to be a year where we were going to have to make some pivots. Okay. And so in some areas in our lives, we said that God wasn't necessarily requiring us to do something new, but to do something old in a new way. Look at it from a new perspective. Take a new approach to doing what you were doing before. Um, for some of us, it was a complete shift you know in our careers. Some people in 2023, they went into a whole new career. Some people in 2023, shifted and took, another step in their relationship. Um, some people had to make shifts in, you know, who's around them, and the access that people have, and just different things like that. So shifting, understanding that, like, uh, 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 when you're in a vehicle, when you're in a vehicle and you shift gears, that shift doesn't require you to change vehicles, but it will change your direction. Um, and in some ways, it will change the way that vehicle performs, right? And so sometimes you need to shift into a gear that is suitable for the terrain you're currently on, and life doing the same thing, that sometimes I have to shift into a gear that's suitable for where I am right now. Um, so that's kind of what it is. Some of us, we actually did this year in February, for the first time in the life of this ministry, I did a whole series on finances from a biblical perspective. And I'm not a finance guru by any means. So what we did was, on Wednesday nights, for Bible study, I brought in financial experts, and we discussed how to get and grow our money. Okay, we called it the Money Matters series. On Wednesday nights, we discussed how do you get and grow money, using biblical principle. And then on Sundays, all the messages were about giving. So we covered, between Sundays and Wednesdays, we covered giving, getting, and growing. And so because of that, there were many people whom weren't tithers, and the challenge was, if you were not a tither, to try it for the month of February and see what happens. And because of that teaching, many people made a shift and tried tithing for the month of February and have yet to stop. And that's a big shift. Like I know sometimes in church we talk about tithing like it's something easy. That's a big shift if you're not already used to living by that principle. That's a big shift to make. And people made it. People paid off debts this year. Even my household, we paid off debts this year. You know what I mean? Like we paid off debt. We shifted, in terms of how we managed our finances and things like that, and God allowed us to be able to make that happen. As a church, right? Like, as a church, as the leader of this church, we made some shifts as a leadership, and the church has grown, spiritually, and numerically. And so, I'm saying a lot with you as defined shift, but this has been a year long process, you know, of shifting. Okay, so shifting ministry assignment. Okay, post to food, shift to education. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. So those are those are huge shifts. Those are huge shifts. Um, the question for anybody that's watching, I see there's multiple people on here. Um, what has been your biggest shift? Type something in the comment section. Let us know what's been your biggest shift. What's been your biggest shift? What's been the biggest? What was your biggest lesson that you learned this year? Okay, what's been your greatest lesson that you learned this year? Um, putting it in here. I'm presenter and producer, y'all. Greatest lesson learned this. Okay. Um, now, now, understand me when I say this. Understand me when I say this. I just went on all of that, talking about what shifting may have looked like for you this year. Whatever shifts you made whatever principles you learned in the shifting process, you're going to need those in 24. You can't, because we're going into 24 and Pastor Jay is saying 24 is the year of the intentional. You can't just leave shifting in 2023. You got to bring that with you. Okay? You got to bring that with you. Because sometimes a component of being intentional is the willingness and the ability to shift. So you need to bring that with you. Okay? But I'm going to be saying this all year long, all 2024. God is going to exponentially bless what you are intentional about. There are a lot of people, and I've been people, there are a lot of people who hang their hats on like, oh, I'll just go with the flow. Whatever happens, happens. Anything that happens, I'll just roll with it. All that all sounds good. 2024, God is going to exponentially bless what you are intentional about. Okay? God is going to exponentially bless what you're intentional about. Brother Cornell says his greatest lesson learned is when God tells you to shift, do it, because if you don't, he will do it for you. Right? We actually talked about this. What would that have been? 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we were talking about the difference between your free will, God's permissive will, and God's perfect will. Listen, if you won't willingly do it out of free will, God's perfect will is going to be done. God's perfect will is going to be done. Right? So when we understand that, you can be Jonah if you want to. You can be Jonah if you want to. We think when we look at the story of Jonah, we there's so much emphasis on the imagery of the whale or the great fish that Jonah was swallowed up. He wasn't consumed or digested. He wasn't chewed up, and then he was spit out. And when he was spit out right where he needed to be. And that all sounds cute, but let us not forget that Jonah was swallowed up because of disobedience. And many of us who didn't properly shift this year, life swallowed us up. Many of us who didn't shift in areas that God was calling us to shift in, life swallowed us up. I can probably promise you that. I can probably promise you that. Yeah. I can probably promise you that. All right. So I've asked 2 questions. I know people coming in and out. That's all good. People coming in and out. But the first question was, what was your biggest shift in 2023? Okay. And the second question was, what was the greatest lesson learned in 2023? Okay. And I'm gonna pose a third question. I'm not gonna be on here long, y'all. I'm probably be done in another 5-10 minutes or so. But I want to pose another question. I want to pose the question: what area of your life do you need to be more intentional about this year? Yeah, what area or areas in your life do you need to be more intentional about this year? I want you to put those in the comment section too, if you don't mind sharing. Okay, if you don't mind sharing. Okay. Because here's what I also believe. I believe that if you go into 2024 with a plan for intentionality, I think that being intentional will be a lot easier. See, here's the thing: we talking about being intentional, and there are some people who are getting ready to go into 2024, and they just gonna find out when they get there what areas they need to be more intentional in. How ironic is that? You going into the year of the intentional, just going with the flow of where I'm going to put my intention and my attention. Let's see. My relationship with God and being a better steward over my finances. So here's what I would encourage. And it seemed like Brother Cornell seemed like it's just me and you tonight, but that's okay. That's okay. Here's what I would encourage. I would encourage that over the next, what we got? What's today's date? Day 13. We got roughly 2 weeks left in the year. I would encourage, based on what you just said, I would encourage you to write down specifically like what aspects of your relationship with God um do you want to strengthen, right? So are we talking prayer life? Are we talking evangelism? Are we talking discipleship? Are we talking, you know what I mean? I would encourage you over these next 2 weeks to really be intentional with prayer and hearing from God and just making a decision on what areas of your relationship with God specifically do you want to improve, and even with finances, right? Like being a good steward or a good manager. Uh, um, what areas should we be most intentional? Are we talking about uh, saving? Are we talking about investing? Are we talking about paying off debts? Are we talking about So if we're gonna be intentional, let's go all the way. And I would encourage you, just before 24 gets here, to have at least a plan. Now, understanding that the Bible says that we make our plans, but God orders our steps. That God may redirect you or shift you, which is fine. But I would encourage going in with the plan, a specific, like a very, very, very specific plan. All right. Anybody else? I see a few more people on. Please hit the like, hit the share, y'all. Um, I will continue to engage in the comment section even after the live is over. But what area or areas in your life do you need to be more intentional this year? I'm curious to know. I'm curious to know. I am. I'll tell y'all. I am definitely wanting to be more intentional about improving um, as a man. That's my general category. Okay, the subcategories within that is being a better husband, father, pastor. And when I say pastor, I'm not talking about preacher. I'm talking about pastor. Like I want to be intentional about developing as a leader. I want to be intentional about developing as a communicator. Um, Even about continuing to get clarity on um, the direction that God wants me to go as a leader, as I'm leading this ministry, as a father. As a father, I am being more intentional about being present in moments, right? Not present in a building, but more present in moments. Um, so I'm, uh, uh, you can't I can't. Jules playing basketball this year, and I can't get caught up in scrolling on my phone during her basketball practice and basketball games because I'm being more intentional. So I'm coaching the team, because I want to be present, fully present. I want my children to have memories, not just of their dad who was a pastor dragging them to church every other night, but have memories of their father being engaged in their lives, right? Being more intentional as a husband and really making it a priority, to take my wife on vacations and in the date nights. Like, and we do those things now. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, like for example, now our date nights, if we happen to stumble on a babysitter, her and I know, all right, it's go time. We going on a date night. Somebody hit us up. We got a babysitter. We're on a date night. 2024, y'all gonna be getting phone calls. Okay, y'all gonna be getting phone calls. Pastor J gonna be calling. I need y'all watch these kids. So maybe it's like he can have a date. But I just want to be more intentional about that. I want to be more intentional about, us having quality time together and dating one another. So and so that's as a man. And then financially, I need to be more intentional about investing. I want to be more intentional about investing this year. So those are the areas that I want to be more intentional this year. And I would love to hear. I got a few minutes left. I would love to hear or read rather what you guys have as far as areas that you're going to be more intentional this year. If you're tapping in with us a little later, we posed three questions. The first question was, oh, that ain't it. The first question was, what was your biggest shift in 2023? What or where was your biggest shift in 2023? What was your greatest lesson learned in 2023? And then what area or areas in your life do you need to be more intentional this year, this coming year? Let me put that in there. Let me just say in 2024. Okay. Okay. Because once again, I'm saying this and I'm going to keep saying it, that God is going to exponentially bless the areas of your life that you're intentional about. Okay. I'm hoping and praying that many of us are going to be more intentional about our health. Our health. I know, socially, mental health is a buzzword, and mental health is important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not downplaying the importance of mental health, but also it's a buzzword. It's something everybody's talking about. But specifically in America, and as I'm looking at, black churches, why everybody in the black church got high blood pressure and diabetes. Why everybody in the black church, cancer running. So like I want us to be intentional about our physical health. We're not talking resolutions right now, y'all. We're not talking resolutions. We're not talking about, something you saying at the beginning of the year that you're going to do, and then by Valentine's Day, you done already fell off. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about that. We're talking about areas in our lives that we're going to be intentional. We're talking about, not just allowing life to just happen, but to have a plan, to be prepared, to work it, to put our attention, our efforts, and our energy into those things. I'm praying that some of the saints is going to be more intentional about, the things they eat and don't eat, myself included. I'm praying that some of the saints is going to be intentional about, don't be talking about you if you don't go to the gym at all right now. Don't be talking about, well, this year I'm gonna be in the gym. Starting January 1st, I'm in the gym 5 days a week. No, you're not. Let's just start with being intentional about being more active. When you get to the parking garage at work, take the stairs instead of the elevator. When you go to the grocery store, don't drive around trying to find the closest spot. Park to the back, get you some extra steps in. Let's be intentional about being active. Let's be intentional about I I told a joke at work just yesterday. The only woman that I have ever cheated on my wife with is Lil Debbie. Me and Lil Debbie, we got a relationship. Me and Fudge Rounds and Star Crunches and all that. Me and Lil Debbie, we got a little relationship going on. But I gotta be more intentional. I gotta be more intentional, about what I'm putting in my body. And I am one of those people. I am in the gym 6 days a week. I am, but I'm not as intentional as I need to be with my diet. You know, so I'm hoping and praying that the Saints is intentional about their health this year. You know, I'm hoping and praying that the Saints are intentional about what they're feeding their minds. Right? When you've not missed an episode of Love and Hip Hop and Real Housewives of this and that, but you ain't read not one book all year, I'm praying for some intentionality. Yeah, I'm praying for some intentionality. You know, if you average once a month coming to church, if you average once a month, I'm praying that you be more intentional about prioritizing God's house. While you pray, you only come to church once a month, but you pray every day about Him blessing your house, but you won't come to His house once a week. Right? We got to be more intentional. And I'm believing that if we are in whatever areas in our lives we are intentional in 24, God will bless exponentially. I truly believe it. I truly believe it. So here's what I'm challenging. Here's what I'm challenging y'all to do because I'm getting ready to get off of here. Here's what I'm challenging everybody to do. We got roughly 2 weeks left. Um, we got roughly 2 weeks left in 2023. I'm challenging everybody over these next 2 weeks to take some time to really think about what areas of your life you need to be more intentional. And don't just think about it, write it down. Like with pen and paper, write it down. Like I ain't talking about notes in your phone. And I want you to do that too. I want you to do both. So you need to do three things. You need to think about it, you need to write it down, you need to type it down. Because in